Managing anxiety through yoga. Why yoga for anxiety? When we look at the biological mechanisms, we see that Streeter et al., they have done a wonderful research in the year 2007, where they were able to demonstrate that a single session of 60 minutes of Iyengar yoga led to increase in the GABA levels in the left thalamus of the brain. And this increase was almost 27%. In the beginning, they compared it, with reading, but that later on they matched it, with walking also, physical exercise, treadmill walk also. So calorie-wise, the intensity was matched, but still, in this match study also, using the magnetic resonance spectroscopy, they were able to demonstrate that in the left thalamus, there was an increase in the level of GABA, which was significantly more than exercise by doing yoga. And there was an immediate effect. And this effect actually, was cumulative. And at the end of 12 weeks, also the effect was sustained. And they showed that at least, one session per week should be done to maintain that GABA levels in that range. Similarly, researchers have shown that yoga practices, especially, inhibit the areas related to fear, aggressiveness. All this goes to amygdala, the limbic area, and they also generate a kind of a high or a kind of a bliss. So that is probably the central mechanism is due to enhanced GABA levels, because whenever the central GABAergic tone increases, person feels very calm and relaxed. In fact, the drugs that is used to immediately reduce anxiety are the group of drugs known as benzodiazepines. So these group of drugs basically act by increasing the GABA levels. So here we see that yoga comes up as a very beautiful, alternative to these kind of pharmacological agents, which actually have a lot of dependence potential. As you would have, read in the anxiety class, that in the short term, management of anxiety, benzodiazepines are used, but they are never recommended to be taken beyond 2 weeks, because they have very strong dependence potential. So here, yoga comes as a very beautiful add-on, which can be started along with medications, and slowly, as the benzodiazepines are tapered down, the yoga intensity can increase. And by the end of 2 weeks, we also see that the effects of yoga start manifesting up, and they peak by 12 weeks. So in that way, I feel that yoga becomes a very natural, a biologically proven kind of a add-on in managing the anxiety disorders. So this Om chanting research, we saw that the amygdala, the limbic area got deactivated by Om chanting. And if you do not want to chant Om, you can simply do the humming also. That also has a very calming effect. Yoga possesses a buffering action on the hypothalamo-pituitary adrenal axis, where it downregulates it, reduces the cortisol levels. And one of the bottom-up approach through which yoga practices, which send the signals from the periphery to the center, is probably by enhancement of the vagal tone. So vagal tone is the bottom-up, and the GABAergic tone is top to bottom kind of a approach through which yoga reduces anxiety. So as I discussed, the pharmacotherapy, though, it is indispensable. All the evidence that is there for yoga is as an add-on, especially in clinically diagnosed anxiety disorders. I'm not talking about anxiety as a comorbid symptom in other medical conditions. That general anxiety as a symptom, yoga is very effective. But when it comes to diagnosed anxiety disorder, like generalized anxiety disorder, panic anxiety disorder, various kind of phobia, social anxiety, there yoga's role so far has been proven as a beautiful add-on. Also, yoga is safe, it has low cost, low stigma, and it is self-empowering. In anxiety, we see that a person starts losing confidence. He also reports his performance and efficiency coming down, cognition levels coming down. It is here also that yoga has a overall effect, and it can reduce the attacks, the panic anxiety attacks also. So we have a anxiety capsule that we have put up in our YouTube channel, and a lot of people give very positive feedback about that capsule, which you are going to actually study. So 8 RCTs have been done, and these show that the yoga type of yoga that have been used are Sudarshan Kriya Yoga, which is a pranayama based yoga, Vinyasa Yoga, which focuses on slow body movements and relaxation, and Iyengar Yoga is predominantly asana based. And these meta-analyses reveal short-term effect of yoga on anxiety disorders, but the large effects compared to active comparators are not seen. So yoga may be an effective and safe intervention for anxiety. This is another study where Hatha Yoga for acute and chronic treatment-resistant mood and anxiety disorders. So these are more complicated cases where also a mild positive effect of yoga has been observed by a number of studies. So this is on Hatha Yoga. Post-traumatic stress disorder also carries a lot of anxiety component, and here a number of trials have been done which favor use of yoga intervention. Overall, we can see the effect size of 0.47, yoga versus no treatment. And so this is minus 1.10. This is quite a good kind of a effect size. And when compared to other active comparators like mindfulness and other Tai Chi and other mind-body practices, still it has a added advantage, goes up to 0.31. Now, talking about integrative medicine, in this particular, pilot study and feasibility study, we were able to combine the yoga module along with the Ayurvedic relaxation technique, which is known as Shirodhara. It is basically the oil dripping, technique where a warm oil drips onto the forehead and goes on from right to left and left to right. And in this particular study, we were able to observe that adding Shirodhara had an added component of enhancing better sleep and also enhancing the cognitive functions better. And both the interventions improved the clinical symptoms. So yoga and yoga plus Shirodhara, adding Shirodhara further improved quality of sleep and cognitive functions. This I already discussed with you. This is another important meta-analysis which assesses the effect of mind-body exercises on heart rate variability. And we see here that overall the 0.58, kind of a effect size that we see the mean difference, which is, moderate to good kind of a effect that yoga can bring about the change in the LFHF ratio towards parasympathetic dominance. Of course, not only yoga and Tai Chi, which are similar practices. So that way, this is another mechanism through which yoga can be useful. Now, when we look at yoga philosophical understanding, of anxiety, we see that among the 3 mental attributes which yoga understands, the fire component is more in anxiety, fire and air. That makes rajas. And this disruption in Triguna has been observed in our previous study also, which leads to this chitta udvega, chitta vikshepa, they say about anxiety. And looking at the generation of kleshas according to Patanjali, from ignorance comes the sense of I-ness as different from the universe. And then this separate I starts developing very strong likes and dislikes, and this is a cycle through which strong likes and dislikes strengthen the I-ness. It means my identification of my existence only with my mind and body complex. The higher this asmita is, the more will be the fear of non-existence, that is known as the abhinivesha. So we see that in anxiety, the abhinivesha is more, and in anxiety also there is, if it accelerates, there is panic anxiety where there is intense fear of death. So from the Panchakosha theory, we see that the problem develops in the Manomaya Kosha, but percolates down to prana and then to the body, and from the body again, the signal goes to the Manomaya Kosha. So a vicious cycle starts, which I am going to discuss. Among the vrittis, people are hyper vigilant. They are more in the akara mode, the externalizing mode, and they, become more hyperactive and find it, distraction. They get more easily distracted when they are anxious because they perceive, the smaller dangers also in the surrounding as big, and there is a lot of negative ruminations that goes on. From the sun and the moon channel dominance point of view, it is a state of excessive sun channel activity. So therefore, the module focuses on enhancing the moon channel activity, and the is the external movement of the consciousness, which is high here. So how do we plan the module then based on these kind of finding? Especially in social anxiety, PTSD, where people do not want to, come out and interact with people or tell the thing to many people. They find that doing yoga one-on-one online in their safe, secure atmosphere at home is better. And in clinically, we find that tele yoga is very well acceptable by people with social anxiety and PTSD. The instruction should be very simple here. Anxiety people get anxious over small issues, and here the loud chanting should be avoided, otherwise they suddenly feel a panic. Loud akara omkara chanting, very gentle humming should be done. Left nostril, because we want to activate the chandra channel, and Brahmari, om, if you chant, then 1:2 ratio where you prolong the Brahmari component. And whatever sectional breathing or pranayama you do, try to maintain inhalation is to exhalation ratio of 1:2. So longer the exhalation, the more parasympathetic dominance comes in. The fast breathing practices, we have to be cautious about it. Generally, the researchers show that these practices also done in a slow mode can bring parasympathetic activity. So Kapalabhati and Bhastrika, Kapalabhati especially should not exceed 30 strokes per minute. So 1 stroke in every 2 seconds, or you can go further down, 1 stroke in every 3 seconds. Bhastrika also should be done slowly, and in one cycle do not exceed 20 strokes. So in this way, it helps. And also the components of yoga, the yamas and niyamas as a lifestyle also are very important in this condition. So here, Matthew Ricard is a Tibetan monk who is the world's happiest man. And he says this person was at will was able to produce these brain gamma waves, suggesting a very deep relaxed state of the mind. And he says that meditating is like lifting weights. Anyone can be happy by simply training their mind. As Gautam Buddha says, kartum akartum anyatha kartum shakyam. What does it mean? It means that in the internal world, in my psyche, all of us have the freedom of doing things in an automatic way, or not to do them, or to do them or respond to the situation in entirely different way. Matter does not have that freedom. If I have a ball and I throw it to the wall, through the Newton's third law, the ball has to come back with equal and opposite force to me. Whereas if somebody abuses me, throws something at me, it is not necessary that I also follow the Newton's third law and react in the same intensity. Like Buddha did, like Mahatma Gandhi did. You may not react at all, or react entirely differently, or may decide not to take it at all. So this is the emphasis that this Tibetan monk, the Buddhist philosophy puts in, that you can train your mind. You have that power of freedom, to decide to remain happy. Mihai Csikszentmihalyi, is a philosopher who has spoken about the flow concept. So people are happiest when they are in a state of flow. What is this flow? Flow is a zone or a groove where the person is intrinsically, motivated to do a certain activity which he likes. And while preparing for that activity, the action merges in the awareness. So there is no sense of time when you do that. And this flow state usually comes when your skills match the challenge. If the challenge is optimal and you have prepared optimally and there is a matching, then this flow state comes. Also, people have reported that this flow state can come in sports, in creative arts, and surprisingly, even at your routine work. You can do your activities in blissful awareness, in a flow. So yoga, in the book Csikszentmihalyi says that yoga is one of the oldest and most systematic methods of producing this flow state. So we see, Roger Federer or Sachin Tendulkar, when they are in the peak crunch matches, how they were able to perform, effortlessly. Similarly, if you go to a music concert and you see, that the singer is in a complete flawless state where he has become one with music, and the same state have been achieved by the meditators also. So how do you generally cope? Generally what people do in anxiety is whatever situation that generates anxiety in them, they try to avoid it. Say, for example, if a question is asked among a group of students, even if you know the answer, you won't raise your hand. You are avoiding the situation. Or if there is a talk that you have to give, you have been invited, then you would pass it on to another. So in this way, or if there is a social gathering, you avoid those situations. But this may not be the correct way of coping. Temporarily you may feel better, but what happens in the long run? After this brief relief, in the long run, you start losing your confidence more and more. And then what happens is, even a small trigger, you start perceiving danger and you start avoiding more and more situations. Not only that you lose opportunities in life, but also slowly you will observe that this anxiety cycle makes you more and more constricted, more and more withdrawn, so that from trivial activities also, very small stresses also, you start withdrawing. And this is a life negative kind of a cycle that you get into. So you need to reverse it. So how do you reverse it? You reverse it by confronting the fear. So if you feel anxious by giving presentations in front of people, then you should give it more and more. Every week give one presentation. So start giving it with people who don't judge you, and slowly increase. So by that way, as you expose yourself more and more, the sensitivity goes down. So that is known as the exposure and response prevention. When you expose yourself and then the task goes well, it improves your confidence. Whatever little anxiety that you feel, you get confidence that you will be able to overcome it, and slowly it enhances your efficiency and you do not lose any more opportunities. So this positive cycle comes when you decide to break this cycle. Now yoga is something which can come to rescue, while you want to break this cycle. So what happens in the mind and body when you are extremely anxious? This is very important to understand. There is shaking in the body, there is excessive sweating, you can feel your pounding heartbeat, there is a kind of lightheadedness, shortness of breath, nausea, all those kind of symptoms come up. And when you see your physical symptom, they further aggravate your psychological symptom. Psychological symptom again aggravate your physical symptom, and you get into this cycle where mind accelerates the body, body accelerates the mind. And in the mind, there are whirlpool of negative spirited of thoughts. What if something bad happens? How will I do it? I can't do it. My bad. No, I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. I want to run away. So these repeated up spirited of thoughts completely narrow your focus down, and you become excessively self-conscious, and this can choke you up. And mind slowly goes out of control, and you suddenly go blank. Whatever you have prepared, whatever you have thought, nothing comes out of your mind. You, in a way, you choke because of excessive narrowing and locking up of the mind, because of excessive speed. So please understand that speed is the problem here. When you make things slow, you become more confident. When things become speeded up, you lose confidence. So is there a better way to cope rather than avoiding things? So here, as I told you, the mind thinks, body reacts, and again, this is a increasing speed in concentric manner. How does yoga interfere here? There are these 2 points where yoga can break in. One is by breaking the, from the mind, the stress that comes onto the body. Yoga enhances your vagal tone, so doesn't allow that kind of heart racing, sweating, or shallow breathing to come up. And on the other side, mentally also, yoga can bring a change in your thinking pattern itself. Usually when we are anxious, we are comparing ourselves with others. We are seeing that the people who are sitting in front of us or people that we are going to deal with are much bigger than us. So one of the ways in which yoga says is, you look at the open sky, look at the whole vast universe. The whole planet Earth itself in the Milky Way galaxy is like a small speck, a small dot. And there are millions and millions of such Milky Way galaxies. And as the universe expands, the Milky Way galaxy itself becomes a dot. So in this such a vast universe, you exist, and the person that you are comparing with also exists. And what is there to compare? It is negligible. In that way, a person tries to connect to something expanded, opened up, and that calms the person down and reduces the concentric thinking and expands. So Patanjali, actually provides very beautiful techniques, in his sutras to reduce chitta vikshepa, or the agitations of the mind that happens during anxiety. So this is a yogic text which actually has 196 sutras. These sutras are nothing but, they are psychological equations related to human psyche. Each equation is like very intense formula, like E equal to mc square. So Patanjali, in minimum words, provides 196 equations to address the human mind and achieve the optimal mental health and resilience. So one of the technique that Patanjali describes in for reducing anxiety is prachardhan vidaranabhyam va pranasya. It means that you throw the breathing out and try to hold it in that way. That will expand your mind. So how do you do it? Very simple. In modern psychology also they use it. You sit with your back and neck erect, keep your right palm on the left palm. This is dhyana mudra. Close your eyes, take a deep breath in through your nostril, and slowly breathe out through your mouth. Hold the breath out for a few seconds. Again, breathe in. When you breathe out, feel a wave of relaxation going on from your head towards your toes. And continue this breathing, and slowly try to prolong the period where you maintain the stoppage of the breath in exhalation in your comfort. As you stop your breath in exhalation, your consciousness expands. As it expands, the loop of thought which are going to catch you, they also lose their grip, and you feel more confident. So this is the Mukha technique. Then another technique is Yoga Nidra, the modified Yoga Nidra. It is there available in our YouTube channel. You can just search Dr. Bhargav Nimhans, add Dr. Bhargav Nimhans, and you can get all these techniques there. And we also do the left nostril breathing. Very simple technique. You just close your right nostril, fix your attention on the touch of the air in your left nostril, breathe in for 4 count, like breathe in, breathe out. So breathe out for 8 count. Breathe in for 4 count, wait for 2 seconds, breathe out for 8 count, wait for 2 seconds. In this beautiful cycle, you have to continue doing this left nostril breathing in the moments of anxiety. At the end of the practice, adopt dhyana mudra, Drop your neck down and sit relaxed. And in your mind, as you breathe in, you have to say, I am not the body. As you breathe out, you have to say, I am not the mind. Creating a space between you and the vicious cycle of the mind-body complex. You as an observer, have the freedom not to get involved or suffered through whatever that is going on in the mind-body complex. So in that way, you try to do this, techniques of prachardhan vidarana abhyam va. Fundamentally meaning that the excessive life force that you have, you let it release. And another beautiful technique Patanjali says is Vishayavati va pravrittir utpanna manasah stithi nibandhini. It means by stabilizing the mind on one of the sense perceptions and the sensations that are arising through them non-judgmentally, then also mind calms down and expands. People usually use either the visual or the hearing aid. For visually, you can fix your gaze at a particular point and allow your whole mind to concentrate there without allowing, the thought process to enter. And then after focusing on the point, you diffuse your mind by becoming aware of the whole of the background. People do Trataka technique, where you look at a candle flame, which is kept in a windless place, and you focus on the candle flame, but you are not looking at the flame. You don't want to focus your mind. You want to defocus your mind. So while looking at the candle flame, you just become aware of whole of the background and still keep looking at the candle flame. So that reduces anxiety. And another, beautiful sense organ is our ears. Here you do not even require any effort of putting a focus on a point or putting a candle. You can simply just sit with eyes closed and focus on whatever sound that falls onto your ears. Rather than focusing on a particular sound, remain open to all the sounds in the surroundings, in all the directions with the same attention. Just listen without attaching a thought to the sound. Sitting like that, nobody will even know that you are doing yoga inside, but that will also stabilize your mind. Third, beautiful techniques that Patanjali describes is Swapna Nidra Jnanam Alambanam Va. If you have the knowledge of, how you shift from the thinking to sleep, then also you can use that knowledge to overcome the agitations of the mind. Even if the person has anxiety as a problem of his personality, by birth the person is anxious, or even if it is a very complicated, resistant kind of anxiety disorder, still, this person, for whatever time that he has this dreamless sleep, he is free from his symptoms. In fact, for the sleeping person, there is no anxiety there. So every day you are able to get complete freedom from your anxiety in this particular state of your existence. How does that happen? And is it possible to continue this state of relaxation little more longer as you get up in the morning? So this is a very beautiful state actually. And Patanjali says that if you decide, if you use the freedom of your mind, you can allow this state to continue little more longer, little more longer, little more longer. And by continued meditation, the way that you get up in the morning and sit on the bed, if you do not voluntarily disturb that peace and put effort that I want to preserve this precious peace throughout the day within me, this smriti itself will help you gain that state of deep relaxation throughout the day. So this is another meditative technique. This is a very beautiful technique to break the thinking pattern. Vitaraga Vishayam Vachittam. Bring such people into your mind. You have a lot of negative thinking that is going on. In that state, suddenly bring a person who is your role model. Bring a person whom you feel will give you courage, who is a fearless kind of a person, who does not get attached or aversive to anybody. So that kind of a person, if you bring into your mind, Say, for example, if you are devoted to Vivekananda, you just think, if at your place Vivekananda was there, when he gave his Chicago famous address, how would he face this particular situation? Or if you believe in God or any deity, if at your place Ma Kali was there, would she shiver in fear like you? So what kind of strength, what Kali would do, what Shiva would do, what Krishna would do, what Jesus would do in your situation? So in that way, you imbibe that kind of a positive energy. And last but not the least, Patanjali says, Ishwar pranidhanadva. Just by bending down in gratitude. Gratitude is a exactly opposite emotion of anxiety. Here you expand. Here you're not self-conscious. You're conscious about another person. So you just bend down and go into your past and recollect the moment where you were in deep trouble, and this particular entity, this particular being, God, with the blessing of that God or that particular person, you were saved from that situation, or just count on the positives that are there in your life and bow down and thank the creator, and by doing that, by bending down in gratitude, also panic attack or anxiety can be controlled. So please contemplate on these thoughts, dear friends, and I wish that all of you, become fearless and manifest your wonderful creativity that God has given you. Thank you. Namaste.